Before I take any questions, I do want to make a few comments about Minister Casey. Obviously, all of you know we've had an extraordinary professional career, but we were also very good friends. I was in the House a few years before Minister Casey came in. I was in opposition when she was in government for the first time. I respected and admired her ability, her intelligence, her thoughtfulness, the fact that she stayed focused on kids from the very time she came into this House about ensuring that the education system responded to the needs of our children. And we then, through working with her as the minister back then, did things on behalf of my constituents in my community. And then we connected, obviously, in 2009-10 when she joined our party. I not only got a colleague, but a confidant, someone that I relied on through my time as opposition leader. But probably equally more importantly when I became Premier. We have really run a dual operation here in lots of ways. She is the one person that I have always sought counsel of when my most difficult days, quite frankly, when she would be the elected colleague that I would turn to and have great conversations and debates about. She saw me at my best and, quite frankly, probably at my worst. She is someone who has not changed during her entire process. She's always showed respect to members across the floor, to the institution that she was elected to. And quite honestly, I think she's done her ancestors proud, ensuring that she took the lessons they taught her and did them with inside of provinces. I'm happy for her to get a chance to go and enjoy her grandkids. I want to thank Sean and Mel, Kevin and Amy for sharing their mother and mother-in-law with our province. I want to thank Gareth and Cara and Henry and Charlotte for sharing their grandmother with us, allowing her to help shape the future for not only her own children and grandchildren, but quite frankly for all of our children and grandchildren. And I also want to give a thanks to Glenn. I've said this many times, no one individual represents the constituents. It becomes a family event, and Glenn has been a tremendous support for Karen as she's through all of the difficult decisions. The courage she showed when she felt that it was time to cross the floor and join a party that represented her views and values. Glenn was there and supported her during those election campaigns, and I want to thank him for his effort as well, representing the people of Colchester North. I know it is a place where both of them have deep roots and, quite frankly, deep connection to. So I knew this day was coming. Even when I made my own announcement, I thought this day would come. But it is still a bit sad, quite honestly. I think Nova Scotians is losing a great public servant, but she deserves a chance to go home and become a grandmother and enjoy some other things in life that I know she will be part of. So, there's been lots of questions about her involvement in government and what role she enjoyed more and all of those things. I hope she enjoyed the role as Deputy Premier. I think together we did some extraordinary things, and I'm proud of our government's record. I'm proud of the work that we did, and I hope she's proud of the fact that her fingerprints are all over some of the decisions that we made as a government. And I look forward to seeing what's next for her and seeing what's next for the two of us as we may be leaving Province House, but friendships last a lot longer than this elected office, and she will always be someone that I will turn to and lean on as the next chapters of our lives unfold.
Thank you, Premier. We'll now take questions from the press. First question will go to Elizabeth McSheffrey with Global. First question will go to Elizabeth McSheffrey with Global.
Sorry, Premier, I'd like to ask who in Nova Scotia you expect may be impacted by the Pfizer delay, whether is it going to be long-term care residents or healthcare workers, or who is going to be touched by that delay?
As Dr. Strang said, it's a case that the vaccination program will be stretched out. As you know, we are currently going through long-term care, healthcare workers. That will be delayed by a week as we continue to use the vaccine that we have, and we'll wait for the new supply.
Go ahead with your follow-up, Elizabeth.
Paramedics have expressed some concern that vaccine appointments are being delayed because they're scheduled too late in the day, and they're hoping that vaccines can be administered past 5 p.m. I'm wondering if that's something that the government's considering right now?
I'm sure, first of all, paramedics are in the first round. I'm sure public health will be looking at that. As you know, it would be public health that is rolling out the vaccine clinics that we have across the province. So they would certainly be looking at, I'm sure if that issue is raised, then they'll certainly look at it.
Next question will go to Keith Doucette with the Canadian Press.
Premier, as you know, the situation in New Brunswick is probably on a knife's edge in terms of their COVID numbers, and we've been told by some epidemiologists that they're at a point where it could go either way, and your counterpart recently basically put half that province in what it calls its red zone. I'm wondering, given the measures that you took to tighten the border, whether there's anything else you might do if the situation does get worse in New Brunswick.
No, I think, we'll look at all options, obviously, but with the changes that we made in the border, it was based on the epidemiology in New Brunswick and our public health officials working with theirs. That seemed to be the appropriate measure to take. We'll continue to monitor it, but I don't see something that we would do other than what we're currently doing right now, which is actually just restricting and controlling who comes across that border.
Keith, go ahead with your follow-up.
And today there's a new study from APEC has come out about Atlantic Canada and its aging population. Now, while that issue is nothing new, it seems like it's more what's facing us is more acute, according to them. I guess they're saying healthcare costs could rise by another 27% because the age of people 75 and over will double in the next 20 years. I'm wondering what you think the region needs to do to cope with these kinds of increases, because it now appears to be even more acute than many people even considered.
Well, last year was the first time in my lifetime that we as a province got younger. We need to continue, my view is that we as a province need to continue on the aggressive immigration policies that we have. We need to welcome new Nova Scotians here. We need to continue to diversify our economy that will allow our university and college graduates to work and live here. All of those trends are positive, but quite frankly, if we don't deal with the issue of the demographics of our population, our healthcare budget will consume all of the operating ability of a government. It's why we've continued to work with my colleagues across the country to have the federal government deal with the issue of how their participation in healthcare funding. In this province, they're 20 cents on the dollar. We need them to be higher. We've asked them, and working with my colleagues, to come to 35% investment at the national level. It would be critical, but we need to continue to welcome more people here. We're on a march to 1 million, our population, and we need to continue that process. Our economy needs them. We need their innovation. We need their ability to drive opportunities. And one of the things that I'm really proud of, to be honest with you, as a province, I've seen and watched globally. Immigration has been, used as a political pawn to drive division. Whether it's been in what happened in London with Brexit, immigration was used in a negative way. We've just seen the last 4 years in the United States what happens. People using the whole issue of immigration coming, and they're making these outlandish allegations that people coming take away job opportunities from our own sons and daughters. It couldn't be further from the truth. In this province, we have great examples of new Nova Scotians coming, opening businesses, creating jobs, providing opportunities for our sons and daughters, creating tax dollars that we can invest in education and in roads and in healthcare. And Nova Scotians have embraced it. While there have been parts around us where people have turned away from immigration, Nova Scotians have embraced it. And I'm really proud of Nova Scotia. We have a multicultural province. You see it on our streets today. And we need to continue to do that for the very thing that you're referring to, not about the healthcare costs, but also just to drive the diversity of this great place. We're very fortunate. I give a shout out to the Pier in Cape Breton. They have been one of the most diverse communities for decades. They've demonstrated to us what happens when people from around the world choose to come and live and work in our province, the diversity of a community and what it could mean socially and that. We're just doing that across the province, and we need to continue and embrace that, not just for healthcare, but quite frankly, we need to continue to do that because we need to be able to deliver other services to Nova Scotians.
Next question will go to Natasha Pace with CTV.
Thank you. Premier, not all provincial government workers are back working in their offices. I guess about 85% are, but that number also includes people who are only working at the office some of the time. Wondering when will the province decide government workers should return to the offices?
Most offices should be functioning now. We do have some employees who require some allowances for health reasons, either their own or vulnerability with inside of the health of someone else they live with. We're working with them, but our offices should be up and going, and everyone who is able to come to work and we're able to provide the right spacing in that environment should be back to work now.
Go ahead with your follow-up, Natasha.
Thank you. Yesterday, RCMP charged a man with impersonating an officer, driving a mock police vehicle, and allegedly pulling people over. Should the sale of decommissioned police vehicles and vehicles designed to look like police vehicles be banned in this province?
Minister Fury will have more to say on that. I know he's been working on legislation to deal with it, but yes, we've seen the tragic consequences of people who try to impersonate a law enforcement officer. The last thing we need is more people who are out there impersonating police officers. We've seen the deadly consequences of what happens when somebody does that and decides to have I'm trying to choose my words carefully here, but who has deadly thoughts. At the same time, we need to make sure that Nova Scotians feel safe and secure, that when there is a police car there that helps protect our communities, help keep our streets safe, that they know it's law enforcement and they respond to it in the appropriate way. The more that we continue to see Nova Scotians doing this reckless behavior, quite frankly, makes the rest of us nervous and concerned. I'm sure it goes through the thoughts of all of us now that we see this is the second time that we've seen someone use a police car. If we're being pulled over, I'm sure it's going to go through our minds, is this really a police officer? So we need to make sure that not only do we ensure that vehicles are destroyed properly, but the same thing with other parts of whether it's a uniform or aspect. But Minister Fury will be able to speak more to that.
Next question will go to Mike Gorman with CBC.
Thank you. Premier, I'm wondering, we heard this week, I think it is, I can't keep track of days anymore, but we heard that Northern Pulp and the government are in discussions about potentially reaching a settlement about the company's claim against the province for closing Boat Harbour early. You've been upfront all along about the fact that that step was probably going to cost us money, but I wonder if you could speak perhaps broadly, without getting into details of the case, about the government's approach to this matter in terms of, on the one hand, being able to keep the promise, but on the other hand, trying to potentially mitigate the financial blow to the province?
So we're not in negotiations with Northern Pulp. Northern Pulp is looking to decide whether they want to do a permit, but we are not in negotiations around any settlement. There's a process going on in the courts in British Columbia, but our government is not in any negotiation with Northern Pulp.
Go ahead with your follow-up, Mike.
Thanks. Along those same lines, of course, the company owes the province $85 million. What can you tell us about efforts to try to get that money back from the company?
So, you're correct, they owe us that money. There's some collateral with that, but there's been some working with the company as they go through this process to determine what their future is. But it's my understanding that those loans are up to date, the payments are up to date, and we continue to expect them to pay that. They will then make the decision about whether or not they can actually get a permit to actually operate that mill to today's environmental standards. But we fully expect them to pay pay those loans, and we'll let them do the process as they wish around whether or not they're going to get an environmental permit to reopen that mill.
Next question will go to All Nova Scotia's Brian Flynn.
Premier, I had questions on the same topic. I was also on the call this week when the lawyers for the two sides told the court that there are some negotiations underway that could make a couple of court actions unnecessary. I understand you're saying that there's no negotiation with Northern Pulp regarding its obligations to the province, or I guess the province's obligations to Northern Pulp, but is there anything you could tell us about what talks are taking place between those two sides?
I don't know what the lawyers were talking about. To be as frank as I can be, there's no conversation that has reached me. So I don't know what the lawyers are talking about and what's going back and forth with them.
Go ahead with your follow-up, Brian.
Have you been told? Is there any discussion with Northern Pulp regarding reopening the mill using some sort of new wastewater treatment facility?
I haven't. There's nothing to me. That would be something they'd have to go through if they want to get a permit. They'd have to obviously present that to the Department of Environment, like everyone who wants to operate in here. But there's been nothing that has come across my desk or been brought to me.
Next question will go to the Chronicle Herald's Andrew Rankin.
Hi, Premier. I'm just wondering, what's the province's position on Atlantic Lotto's proposed online casino, which would allow Nova Scotians to gamble up to $500 on a single blackjack hand from home? Do you think this is a good idea, given that we're in the midst of a pandemic and many people are unemployed and relying on government COVID relief to pay their bills?
So I believe the decision's been made through the Department of Finance and our colleagues across the region that Atlantic Lotto would begin to do online gaming. Let's not kid ourselves. There's online gaming today. It's just not regulated in our province. What Atlantic Lotto is doing is looking to regulate online gaming across the region. So that process is ongoing. I'm not exactly sure where it is. That would have been a great question for Minister Casey, but I'm not exactly sure what it is. I know we're in the process of doing that, but I'm not exactly sure to what stage we are right now.
Andrew, do you have a follow-up?
Okay, I'm just wondering, has more funding, is there going to be more funding for gambling addiction services, I guess, given the fact that the government is committed to signing on to this online casino, and obviously more people are going to be playing this pretty dangerous form of gambling.
So we've continued to invest in services around addictions, around issues around other aspects associated with that. We continue to invest in every one of our budgets, and I'm sure that will become part of the budget process, and the new government will make that decision.
Next question will go to Tim Biscay with the Halifax Examiner.
Hi, Premier. Why has the province instructed Nova Scotia Power to burn more biomass at the boiler, the Amera boiler in Brooklyn, at an additional cost of $7 million to ratepayers?
I don't know the details around that. Minister Mumbercat would be able to have that conversation when you. It's a good question for him. I do know that the biomass plant in Liverpool was being used to use some of the residuals that is part of our sawmill industry. So I'm not exactly sure what the URB or the decision was made around the biomass announcement. Minister Mumbercat will be able to answer that for you.
Go ahead with your follow-up, Tim.
Well, I'll change topic then. You've been very vocal about your support and pride, I guess, of the organ donation change. I think, well, we've spoken with bioethicists who share the goal of increased organ donation, but they've called into question the family override aspect of that, especially, and they said that's counter to the former way, which is someone wanted to donate their organs. There was basically no override, and now there is. What would you say to them?
I would say to them, I'm very proud, first of all, of this piece of legislation. I've said this before. This was long before I became the Premier. This was something I felt I could never quite understand it, to be honest with you. We were bearing hope in our province every day. When I lined that up with our own individual intent of wanting, everyone says they want to be an organ donor, and yet there was some disconnect. When I first approached Dr. Beat about this issue, it became pretty obvious that there were parts of our province that even if you wanted to be an organ donor, it was very difficult because of the infrastructure. I live in rural Nova Scotia. As you know, I've always signed my driver's license to be an organ donor, but the odds of my organs being donated, if something were happened to me at my home, were probably pretty remote because of the infrastructure, education conversations. What's happening with this new piece of legislation, first of all, I think there's a broader conversation happening within our own families about this issue. Minister Margaret Miller did a tremendous job of putting a human face on the issue. I don't think we can underestimate the fact that we've changed the conversation at the bedside. Before this, it was always a question you would have to go and ask the family, even before this. Even if I signed my card, they would still have to ask my family, does Stephen want to be an organ donor? It's a very different conversation today. That's a tough conversation for healthcare workers to happen, particularly in many parts of this country, in particular parts of this province. I live in, as I just said a few minutes ago, in rural parts. I know people who work in those hospitals. They would know my wife. They would know my children. And at our most difficult time, they have to ask that very difficult question, where now the conversation would be changed, because I'm an automatic organ donor. But they still have to ask my family. And it's an easier conversation for that healthcare provider. In some cases, before, the question wasn't even being asked because of the emotional trauma that was happening to that family at this time. Now they will ask that question, and it's an easier question. But families will still have the ability, just like they did before. Even though I've signed my card before, my family still could have said no. I believe this, the opt-out portion, or the opt-out provision now, is one to allow a different conversation between the healthcare provider and that grieving family. And I believe we've seen Dr. Beat has talked about this. This will go across the country. I'll tell you that this started out for me, really was around organ donation. I don't think we can underestimate the amount of donations that are required on tissue. It was something that surprised me when I started in this process, but this is a positive thing for our province, and it's my hope, and I've been called from across the country that this will move across the country. I believe Canadians in their hearts I want to make sure that in their most difficult times of grief and tragedy, that this is one of the times that they can do something positive out of it. And I believe Canadians want to do that, and this piece of legislation allows Nova Scotians to do it a bit easier, and it's my hope, quite frankly, that it will sweep across the country so all Canadians can be able to do that.
Next question will go to Jean Laroche with CBC.
Good afternoon, Premier. I just want you to hope you can help me square something. You said you knew this day was coming in relation to Ms. Casey's decision. However, she said she only made the decision last week. So why did you feel that she would be, to use, for lack of a better phrase, following you out the door?
I don't know if listen, first of all, Minister Casey told you she made the decision last week. It doesn't mean we didn't have a discussion about it. But her final decision was last week of what her decision would be. Quite frankly, I sought her counsel when I was doing it. This is, I can't, I don't want to overestimate it. I don't want to. There's very few things that happen inside of this government in the last 7 years, whether it was within her department or, quite frankly, out of the Premier's office, that I didn't have a discussion with her while I was preparing the decision to be made, or, quite frankly, seeking her advice on the decisions that we would do. I admire and respect her, her ability, her thoughtfulness, her consistency, and she was someone who was a good balance for me, to be honest with you. Won't come as any surprise to any of you. I sometimes can get pretty emotional. She would be a balance for me. So I knew that the day would come that she would be stepping away. I'm a bit sad about it, to be honest with you. Our political lives have been connected. Very few premiers get to say that a leader of a former party crossed the floor to join them because they believed in the direction their party was going, in the direction that they were taking. She could have easily been the leader of a party. She could have easily been elected as a premier in this province, but she chose to join us and me in this journey, and I am forever grateful. But as she said, and I said when I was made my announcement, everything has to come to an end. So even though we won't be making decisions inside of government, she will always be a part of my life. She's someone that I will always reach out to, and I hope she feels the same way. I'm wishing her and Glenn and the kids and her grandkids nothing but happiness and success. And I think, when you get a strong individual in elected office, we all should feel a bit sad about it when they leave, and that's where I am. And as a Nova Scotian, not as the Premier, as a Nova Scotian, sad that somebody of her qualities actually won't be in the office.
Jean, do you have a follow-up?
For the record, Premier, I am sad that she is leaving. I will miss her at Province House. I might even miss you a day or two. Just to put a bow on stuff, given all you've said about her and her qualities, what kind of challenge do you think it will be for your successor to go on without the kind of experience that Karen Casey and others who are going out the door have?
Oh, I think everyone who leads political party will find their people. They will find their go-to people. They'll find the person that they represent. I've got great colleagues. Some of them have become personal friends. Karen is one of those. But we're all replaceable. Someone will come behind. We had a great run, a great track record. But it's hard to explain to people who've not been in this kind of environment. This is a pretty intense environment, even as a group. And they were with me when I lost a sibling. I've been with them when they've lost people. They've seen me at, at my weakest moments in many of them, and Karen would be one of them. But all these colleagues are more than just people in elected office to me. They're friends of mine. They've become people who have helped shape the last 17 years of me and the last 7 as Premier. So the new person will find their people. They'll put together their elected team. There's still a lot of capable people sitting around that table. It was quite... All of them had a chance to talk to Minister Casey this morning after Cabinet, and all of them expressed their kindness to her, which I thought was a wonderful moment for her. And it was a privilege for me to actually be there. But whoever replaces me will find their people, and they'll get a chance to shape the government in the province.
That's all the time we have today for questions. Thank you, Premier.
Thank you.